Welcome to the podcast where my thoughts disrobe and I get naked with you on life and its lessons. My name's Jessica and I am your host of Disrobe Thoughts. Welcome back, everyone. I feel like we were just here. That's because we were. I just recorded the anxiety episode. Um, I was ironically, if you listen to the anxiety episode, if you listen to it right before this, I talked about how exhausted I am and how much I yawned through the episode. And I immediately finished it and I was like, oh my God, let's do the next one. Here we are. Let's do the next one. I'm feeling wild. I'm feeling crazy. Um, so I today the next thing I want to talk about. Oh, quick thing on anxiety. I put on some lotion. I took a tinkle and took a tinkle break because y'all really needed to know that. And put on some lavender lotion. I was like, oh my God, I was totally going to mention that I like to wear lavender for my anxiety. Aromatherapy calms the nerves. Anyway, I'm on a roll, so let's do this. I wanted to talk about being misunderstood and not heard. Hearing myself tonight, sometimes I do know why I am frequently misunderstood. But a big part of Disrobe Thoughts is it came out of a need, a desire, a want to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel understood, for all that I am. Because oftentimes I don't feel it is very clear to me that people are not listening to me. They're only half listening. They don't hear me. They don't hear the things that I have to say. And because of that, I am frequently misunderstood. And the things that I have said and done are taken in a completely different way that they were meant to be taken. And so I want to talk about that a little bit, and that was part of why Disrobe Thoughts came to be. So I was listening to this little blurb, or reel. Oh yes, I don't sound old. A reel on Instagram about this very thing. And it was by Florence Given. Florence Given is an author. I just picked up her book. I don't remember what it's called. I posted about it on my personal page. Maybe on this page too. No, probably my personal page. Women Don't Owe You Pretty. And it is about how we feel like we owe society something. Like we feel like we have to look pretty in order to be X, Y, and Z. And I mean, a lot of women, how many of you have heard, oh, you look so tired today? No, I just didn't wear makeup. I just didn't wear makeup. And you think I just look tired or lazy or I don't fucking depressed or sad or whatever you want to think. And so fantastic book, not what today's episode's about. But speaking of misunderstood, just because I don't wear makeup one day does not mean I am tired. It might mean that I'm tired, but it does not mean that I'm tired necessarily. So anyway, Florence Given is fantastic. I'm not very far into her book, but I look forward to reading the rest of it. And this little reel that I watched, she talked about she was talking specifically to the women who want to be seen as the good girl, who want to be seen as the good person. And just people in general. It doesn't have to be exclusively women. I think she was addressing women, good girls. But whatever. Anyway, she talked about how sometimes you have to be okay with not being heard and not being understood, because some people just That's just where they're going to land. They are not going to move from that opinion of you, and defending yourself or explaining yourself over and over and over doesn't help you. It just hurts you. You yourself. It doesn't really hurt. Like, their opinion is already formed, whatever. But it just causes that frustration and irritation and anger and unnecessary pain of the endless cycle of trying to explain yourself. And I have been through a lot of this in my whole life, but I've been through a lot of this in the last year, I'd say, where I have had friends that don't hear me. They don't listen to me. They hear what they want to hear. They take what they want from that, and then they, spread it amongst themselves and bitch about it and complain about it. And when I hear about it, I come out and I apologize about it, and I explain it, and I explain what was going on in my head at that moment, or what had been going on, or why I don't understand what's going on in that situation because I did X, Y, and Z, but they're just saying that I did Z, um, and like putting some crazy spin on it, and I'm just like, I don't I don't understand. One of these situations was one in which, like, I drew a boundary. That person did not respect the boundary, and I was a bitch because I drew my boundary, they didn't respect it, and then complained to everybody how mean I was. And it was interesting because it came from somebody who was very, very big on boundaries, and when they said no, it meant no, and you need to respect that. Ironically, they don't feel the same way for everybody else. And I ended up finding out that that person actually had formed a whole entire narrative and opinion about me that I don't know all of it. I only know a piece of it that I don't fully understand. Um, but anything I ever said to them was not heard. It was very clear it was not heard. It was not understood. And but because their story about me had already been formed, their opinion solidified, nothing I could say or do would ever change that. And that was heartbreaking. That was really heartbreaking because I really cared about this person, and I considered them a friend. I Somebody I would help in a heartbeat, that I had gone out of my way to help several times, and when they were in need of it. And so it was one of those moments where you're just like, well, fuck. I don't understand what happened here. And I ended up choosing to, that was one of the first moments I chose to be okay with being misunderstood. Because I had conversations with this person in the past and arguments with them over some dumb stuff that should have never been arguments to begin with. That I knew how that conversation would go with them. And because their opinion was so formed, I didn't think it was going to change. I didn't think they were going to be open to hearing anything different. What bothered me most was how fake they were to me after. Um, Knowing how misunderstood and how not heard I was. Does that make sense? I don't know. And I had another incident with a friend where I was not being heard and I was very much so being misunderstood. And at some point in time, it kind of hit its breaking point. It blew up a little bit a couple of times. But the first time it was like, no, we're cool. Nothing's wrong. We're fine. And then the second time it blew up into this massive thing where the narrative was that I have been angry for weeks upon weeks, and I've been taking things out on them and ignoring them and whatever. And I was like, I don't know where the fuck this is coming from. So it was one of those situations where in order to be heard and in order to be understood, I had explained myself over and 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 over. And it got to the point where it was just like, I mean, it's just exhausting. They had already formed their narrative of in their opinion of what happened and about me. Why am I doing this anymore? They're clearly not going to change their minds. They're not going to this friendship has very clearly diminished because a lot of this. And things aren't going to change. And we actually ended that conversation on a really great note, I thought, until their Facebook was ransacked with posts that related directly to our conversation. And not a great light. And so I knew then that what was said was not, again, do not appreciate the whole two-facedness of it all, where, yeah, Jess, no, we're cool, everything's great, yeah, things are fine. And then, like, behind my back, I mean, is it behind my back if it's posted all over social media, or in the other situation, spread around the friend group or whatever? It's but it's one of those situations in which I have to be okay with being misunderstood and not heard and not listened to. And though those posts hurt, though those things were the lies hurt, um coming from someone that I trusted and I thought I could trust, coming from someone that I trusted and that I had in the past confided in, and I thought we could work pretty much anything out. Friendship was so strong. It hurt. And it was really, really hard. Really, really hard having to sit there and realize that what I thought was true, what I thought was true about our friendship was not. Again, heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. I thought that we could work anything out and that everything would be okay. And yeah, I mean, I thought we were honest with each other. And though it was clear during our conversation that they were very stuck in their narrative of what happened and their opinion of me, it just, I thought we were good too. And so then at the end, I was like, okay, we're cool. I don't have to explain myself, defend myself, try to make myself seen and heard. Um, and then, in the end, I had to still come back to, okay, I have to be okay with being misunderstood and not heard. I had another argument with someone the other day where something I had said been taken grossly wrong. It was taken so wrong. It was not even remotely close to what I thought I said. And I stopped, once I realized what had happened, I stopped, I paused, I said, I am so sorry. That was not what I meant. This was what I meant. This person said it better than I did. I apologize. I would never say that. The entire time I was interrupted and I was told I thought certain things about us. I thought certain things about certain people and that's just my opinion and that's how it is. And I was like, no, that's not my opinion. That's not my opinion. That's not my opinion. And then I had to stop. Because I just kept going in circles and circles and circles and circles and circles. And I kept being interrupted and I kept being told what I thought. And so I ended up messaging them later and explaining, like, hey, I am so sorry. It's clear I struck a chord. I apologize. This is what I think. This is how I feel. This is what I think and feel about the situation. This is what I meant to say. And the response I received made it very, 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 very clear that they did not read a word I said. They did not hear a word I said. And that everything that I said was being grossly misunderstood. And taken completely, it's like, direction said turn right. They turned around. They made a U-turn and then turned left 100 miles back. It just was like wildly a different direction. And so I just I'm sorry. It was a really hard thing for me to recognize that I was not being heard and I was not being understood, and that it was okay. It had to be okay. Because at that point, someone mentioned to me, well, Jess, why don't you talk to them in person, sit down, see if you can work things out? Well, if I've already explained everything, I said everything I needed to say, explained everything I needed to say, or wanted to say, explain, I don't know. And their response was very not even remotely made sense to what I said. It meant that they weren't open to hearing me. They weren't open to it. And that's okay. I have to remind myself that's okay. Because not everyone's going to be open to hearing things, and listening and understanding. And that's really what like this boils down to is people are not their their opinions that they have made of you, be them true or be them not, are opinions that they have created usually to protect themselves. You know, the friend that I thought, we were friends, turns out we're not friends. And I had been lied to for a very long time about that. I didn't realize his level of hatred for me. Um and until it became very obvious. And so and then when it became obvious that I understood his level of hatred for me, it was a lot nicer to me. It was weird. Um, but you just at some point you pick up on the way people are treating you, the way people are acting towards you, their condescending notes, their sarcasm, their um how they react towards your feelings and emotions and your joy, things that you're excited about, how they react towards that. All these things, you start to recognize, oh, okay, when you take a step back, you start to realize, well, they don't have my best interests at heart. And they very clearly, truly do not like me. And so when I recognized this, and I was heartbroken, um, my opinion formed that this person was an asshole. And if he wanted to act like a cunt around me, I'm gonna act like a cunt back. And that's what I did. And then he was really nice to me. But the whole thing was, I mean, he may or may not be an asshole. I don't. I mean, he is kind of an asshole with the way he treats people. But like in my feelings towards him, it was more to protect myself because I was heartbroken. So it was easier to feel like this person's just a fucking asshole than it was to feel like, okay, this person just doesn't like who I am. For whatever reason, they do not like who I am. It was easier. And I hate that I have to say that. Mm. But how many of you have felt that way? If you think back to some of the opinions you have formed about certain people, and be them true or not, he is kind of an asshole, but not in the way that I've created him in my brain. Um, you think about it, and I'm sure you can find a relationship, a situation, in which maybe you viewed it a certain way that it was or it wasn't. I mean, my narrative before that was that we were friends. We were friends that helped each other out. We were totally cool. Um, we laughed, we joked, we got along. It was great. And that was my opinion and that was my narrative. My opinion was very high. I thought very highly of this person. They'd overcome a lot. They did so much for their family. They loved, they cared, they worked hard, they went above and beyond. I always felt like they were too hard on themselves. They were just a little too hard on others because of that. A little projection there. Um, but I always thought very, very highly of this person. I adored this person. how quickly our opinions change. And the entire time, little did I know that they didn't like me. And so, well, they didn't like me at all. They thought I was just shit. And so that was realizing that was very hard. It broke my whole opinion I had formed. It was a very nice opinion too. And so it's funny how like these things, these misunderstandings, I misunderstood him. I did not hear him. I didn't hear him at all. Because once I took a step back and I did hear him, I heard how he talked to other people and how it wasn't as nice and friendly and joking as I thought it was originally. I saw that other people took it the way I took it prior to this, like prior to taking a step back and really like watching how condescending and he is. And I just and offensive. I just was was shocked because I had been, you know, just didn't see it for so long. I didn't hear him. I didn't understand him. And I don't, it's just it's crazy how much we don't take a step back and truly listen and truly hear people in the moment. There have been many a time where I have sat there in a conversation with a friend and I have half listened. And half of that is ADHD brain, and the other half is that me choosing to listen to ADHD brain. And that is not, sometimes it's a choice, sometimes it's not. And it's my intention to be present in the last several years has helped me overcome some of that, has helped me choose to listen in that moment. When I am not fully present and I am not fully listening, I do not hear people. I don't listen to people. And that's just the world we really live in right now. We get so caught up in everything. How many of you sit on a daily basis watching a movie or TV show and you're on your phone during it? I go to the movies all the time, and there are several people who can't sit through an entire movie without saying something or without looking at their phone, because we are too occupied with being somewhere other than where we are. And I get it. I totally get why. I totally get why. We want to be stuck in our own brains. It's a fucking scary ass place in there. You know how, like, you ever sit in a quiet room with no distractions, no phone, no TV, no music, nothing, and you sit in a quiet room and you just let your brain go? Who was it? I'm pretty sure it was Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus? I think so. Who did an interview recently, or not recently. It was a reel I saw on Facebook. You know how you know how that goes. Or Instagram, doesn't matter. And she talked about how she just sits there in silence and whatever needs to come up comes up and she just lets it out. I think we need to do more of that. I think I do a little bit of that with meditation, but that's more focusing on clearing your mind, which for people who have a hard time focusing, it's really, really hard. But it's about being present. It's about being in the moment. That's important. It's not about doing anything perfect. It's just about being there, recognizing, watching your thoughts and everything. And it's because of that that I've gotten so much better at hearing people and so much better at listening, but I still catch myself not doing so. And there are times where we've gotten so far in the conversation and I have to look at them and I have to say, I apologize. I wasn't fully listening. I didn't completely hear you. I got distracted. There was, some squirrel, some weird shit going on over here. I saw the egg in your salad and it was yellow where it shouldn't have been yellow. I don't understand why that is. Can you repeat what you just said? Or this is what I've heard so far. Am I hearing everything correctly? What am I missing? Am I missing something, or are we on the right track? And, they'll either say, oh, well, you're missing this piece. And I'm like, makes a lot more sense. Or they're like, no, I haven't gotten there yet, but you're on there, you got everything. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so it's those moments where you have to recognize, like I have to recognize myself that I'm not listening. What's frustrating, what the hardest part of all this is for me, is understanding that not everyone is that self-aware, and not everyone is going to stop themselves and say, I am so sorry, Jessica. What did I miss? I have a few friends that do that, and those of you who do, I really appreciate you. I really do. I appreciate you listening to me. I appreciate you hearing me and taking the time to hear me. Because I know sometimes I'm long-winded. I mean, we're at fucking 28 minutes of this shit. Like I know that I'm long-winded, and I know sometimes that I tangent off into who fucking knows where. But I really, really appreciate those of you who do take the time to listen to me. And I appreciate those of you who take the time to listen to this podcast. And, I want to make more of an effort to look at people and tell them, I hear you. I see you. I recently had a couple of guests come in, and they asked me if I was the manager. I was like, no, 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 I'm no manager. And would you like to speak to one? And she's like, no, 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 no. I just wanted to let you know, like, you waited on us last time. We were sat over there, and you carry yourself so well. You're so professional. You do your job very well. You get things done. You're always moving, and it's rare to see somebody who works so hard. And I just want you to know that I see you. And you guys almost cried because I'm just over here. I like to blend into the background sometimes, I, I like not being seen sometimes. It's nice being a wallflower. But it gets to you at some point. Got to me at some point. And so it's nice to be seen, and it's nice to be heard. And I personally am going to make more of an effort to be present in my conversations and to stop those moments where I feel like I've gotten lost, and to tell people I see them and tell people I hear them. And I might be on my phone less. So those of you who are going to get pissed because I haven't texted you back in a while, it's probably because I'm listening to somebody who needs to be listened to, who needs to be heard. I'm listening to somebody who needs to be heard. Because I am not going to be one of those people who consistently does not hear and misunderstands people on the regular. Because I don't appreciate that. However, I am going to consistently and aggressively continue to work on being okay with being misunderstood and not heard. And I think that goes with it's a really big part of not caring what other people think, understanding that I am not everybody's cup of tea, understanding that I don't have to please everybody, doing my own fucking thing and not caring. Because in the end, it matters only to me. It's my life. And being misunderstood and not heard is just going to happen. But something that I'm progressively working on being okay with. And something that Florence Given said when she did that video, she's like, guys, just every time this happens, stop yourself before you go to defend yourself or explain yourself or re-explain yourself, and just stop yourself and say to yourself, it's okay that I am not being heard. It is okay that I am being misunderstood. And that was huge. So it's okay. It's okay if you don't hear me. It's okay if you do misunderstand me. It's okay. I know that you need that. For whatever reason you need that, you need to protect yourself from whatever you're protecting yourself from. That's okay. And that is the compassion side of things. And that is the side that I always try to see from every situation. Every time someone's mean to me or hurts my feelings or upsets me, I try to find, okay, what caused that action? And it's probably because hurt people and they're hurting. And misunderstanding and not hearing people comes from a lack of presence. And sometimes it comes from formulating that opinion to protect yourself. And I understand that sometimes that needs to happen. And that is okay. And I am okay. I am working on being okay with being the villain in your story. I'm working on being okay with not being heard. I'm working on being okay with being seen for something I'm not, seen as something I'm not. I'm working on being okay with being misunderstood because I see you, I hear you, I see and I hear your actions, and I see and understand why you're doing them, and it's okay. On that note, I hope you all have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you next time. Good night.